two bowls of clear liquid. One smells faintly of chickpeas, the other smells like nothing really. And in about 10 minutes, both of these are going to turn into stiff, glossy, egg white style foam. But they don't get there the same way. They don't behave the same way once they're up. And depending on what you're making, that difference is going to matter a lot more than which one whips up faster. So let's actually look at what's happening inside these two foams and figure out which one deserves a spot in your kitchen. Quick refresher, because this is where the whole comparison hinges. Aquafaba is the liquid left over from cooking chickpeas or straight from the can. It whips because it's loaded with starches and saponins, those slightly soapy plant compounds that are really good at trapping air. It's a clever, totally improvised foam. Nobody designed Aquafaba to whip. We just got lucky and we found out. Potato protein is the opposite story. It's an isolated protein, mainly something called patatin, that's extracted specifically because it foams well. It's not a leftover, it's a refined ingredient. You rehydrate the powder in cold water and it acts a lot like egg white because the structure is made to do the same job egg white does. And that distinction, a refined protein versus leftover starch and saponin liquid, is a thing to keep in your head for the rest of this video. It explains almost everything that's about to happen. Here's the part I find fascinating. When you whip egg whites or potato protein, what's happening is the proteins are unfolding. They're long folded up chains and whipping uncoils them. Once they're unfolded, they grab air bubbles and link up with each other, forming a network around each bubble. That network is strong and it's what gives the foam real structure. And crucially, what lets it set firm when you add heat. Patatin behaves almost exactly like egg white protein in this respect. Aquafaba doesn't really have that. There's some protein in there, but it's a much smaller player. The saponins are doing most of the work, and saponins foam through a completely different mechanism. They just lower the surface tension of the liquid, the same basic idea as soap bubbles. That gets you a foam fast, but a soap bubble style foam and a protein network foam are not the same thing in their structure, and that gap shows up as soon as you try baking with them. That's the real headline difference. Potato protein builds a true protein structure. Aquafaba builds something closer to a very good, very stable bubble bath. So let's put that to the test. Same bowl size, same whisk, same starting volume of liquid. Aquafaba gets to soft peaks fast, usually under 5 minutes, but it stops out there. Push it past soft peaks and it starts to look a little tired. The bubbles are bigger, a bit less uniform, and the whole thing has a slight sheen. That's actually the saponins doing their thing. Potato protein takes a little longer to get going, but once it does, it climbs further. You get genuinely stiff, glossy peaks that hold a sharp point when you lift the whisk, usually very close to a real egg white meringue. The bubble structure is finer too, which you can actually see if you look closely. Side by side, potato protein wins on peak height and how long it holds before it starts to weep or deflate. Aquafaba is faster off the start line. Potato protein has more stamina. So which one should you reach for? Honestly, it depends on the job. Aquafaba is brilliant for mousses, light cake batters, and anything where you're folding the foam into something else and you don't need the structure to survive on its own. It's cheap, easy to find in the shop, and it's something you're probably throwing away anyway. In most applications, it's completely indistinguishable in the final result. Potato protein earns its place when you need real structural independence. French meringue that has to hold a shape and bake dry, or a foam that needs to set firm with heat the way egg white does. Because patatin behaves like true egg protein, it actually coagulates around 55 degrees Celsius and above, which means it sets the way a baked meringue needs to set. Aquafaba doesn't really do that. There's no true coagulation happening, so anything relying on heat-set structure is going to struggle. If you're doing a vegan meringue that needs to hold its shape on a plate or bake into something crisp and dry, potato protein is genuinely the better tool. If you're folding foam into a mousse or sponge, save your potato protein and just use the Aquafaba sitting in your fridge already. I would recommend to buy a potato protein and experiment with it. because the shelf life is really long. And if you don't really use chickpeas that often in your kitchen, or you know you will use more aquafaba than you eat your chickpeas, then maybe potato protein is also a better idea for you. On a more practical note, potato protein has a very neutral taste once whipped, so if aquafaba's faint chickpea note has ever bothered you in a delicate application, that's a really good reason to switch. Potato protein does have a bit of a specific smell to it though. It's not unpleasant or strong, but I thought it's something you might want to know. A few things you might want to know before you go looking for it. Potato protein isolate isn't something you will find at a regular grocery store. You will need to look at specialty baking suppliers and modernist pantry sites online. The same places that sell things like agar or methyl cellulose. It's not expensive for how far it stretches, since you're only using a small spoonful per batch, but it does cost more upfront than a can of chickpeas you are probably going to use anyway. And shelf life is generally one of its biggest advantages. It's a dry, shelf-stable powder. So sealed in a cool, dry cupboard, it will last a long time. Nothing like aquafaba, which you need to use within a few days once it's open or frozen for later. If you bake with potato protein, even occasionally, that bag is going to outlast a lot of things in your pantry. Neither of these is the winner across the board, and I think that's actually the more useful takeaway than just picking one. They foam through different mechanisms, so they're built for different jobs. Once you know why they behave differently, choosing between them stops being a guess. If you want to see potato protein in action in an actual bake, not just a bowl on a counter, you are welcome to subscribe, and I will make a video in the near future, showing you the recipe exactly how to work with potato protein. So until then, see you in the next one. Bye!